Right, so it's Kate Ross here for BSTV. I'm here with Cam Cole in his studio in Stoke Newington. This is a very exclusive interview. Thank you very much for inviting us round.
No worries, Kate.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, thanks. I'm doing great.
And how are things going in general for you with everything you're doing?
Yeah, everything's going really well. I've been gigging a lot recently, just promoting my my debut album, Contribute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got some more gigs lined up. I'm looking to book some more in the future. I'm looking to do some touring as well.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, I'm just gigging in London, really, just around just normal clubs kind of thing. I got one coming up soon in the 12 Bar, I think. So yeah, that's the next one, plan of action. I had the Finsbury this weekend, which went down really, really well.
Oh, I was there, yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe we should go back to the basics. I guess you're a very young man. How old are you?
I'm 21.
You're 21, and how long have you been playing music for?
Oh, well, that goes back a long, long time.
That's a hell of a question. Maybe that's an unfair question for you.
No, I can go right back to the beginning. Basically, I learned how to play music originally off a djembe. I was in primary school, and I think it was a Nigerian guy came around to the school, and it was like an assembly, and what happened was he got everyone to start playing. He got everyone to start clapping in time with him first, and I was one of the only ones who really could clap in time with him, you know. And then he got everyone to hit the djembe in time, and then again I sort of stood out and I could do it in time really well with him. I'd just be able to do it naturally, and he sort of took an interest in me, and we started playing.
How old were you?
Oh, I can't remember. I was really young then, really young. I just remember it as like my first kind of like thing of music on a djembe, and then I went from drums. I got into drums from that because he said you should get involved in drums, and I started playing drums when I was always tapping off tables and things like that. And then later on, I played a little bit of bass. I got this guitar first, which used to be a bass guitar, and I moved from that onto guitar, and now I sing and play guitar and do my own thing, I suppose.
Now, I know there's a good story about this guitar. Is it true that this guitar was bought by a 7-year-old Cam Cole for £4 in a car boot sale?
Yeah, that's right, a little car boot sale in Cranley. Basically, I used to go to car boot sales all the time with my dad, and my family really loved them because you never know what you can find. And I was into drums at this time, and I'd never played guitar before, or bass, and it was a kid's bass guitar, and the neck was exactly the same, the whole thing was exactly the same, except it didn't have all this stuff on it, this pickup, or all the stuff has been put on by me. And
so this little handle kind of steampunk thing you've got going on is all like an addition by you?
It was, this thing here? Yeah, this is a big speaker, so this makes it, if you can hear it. So it's like a little vibrato that I use.
Amazing.
You know? And basically, it was a kid's bass guitar, and it was just like literally there was marks on it and everything. Years later, I painted it white with my band when I first came to London. But I bought it for £4. The guy said originally to me, I was 7 years old, and the guy said it's a fiver. I asked my dad how much money he had and if I could have some money. My dad gave me £4, so I went up to the guy. And I said I've only got £4, and he let me have it. And it's been with me ever since. And I played a bit of bass on it at first, and I kind of worked out how that kind of worked, you know. And
this is your core instrument. This is the one you use playing live. And did you record? Yeah. Do you record with this as well?
I use everything. This is my standard tuning normal guitar that I use.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it's been through the wars. It's actually, I'll show you. It's actually with my old band. It broke. I got a bit angry during rehearsal, and I smashed it. I got a silly idiot I was, and I had to put some screws through it at the top there, because when a guitar breaks at the top here, usually it's goodbye, you know, it's bye-bye, it's gone. But my brother, who's a sort of a carpenter, I suppose, he fixed it for me.
It's quite punk.
It is pretty punk, yeah. And as you can see, it's all just through the years of playing. This used to be, I used to get splinters from this, because when I was a little kid, you see, I hacked away at it here. Yeah. Because then my hand could fit around it, because I had tiny hands. And then
so you hacked at the...
I literally hacked away with a kitchen knife, yeah. I took that, because it was really big at first, like that. And I took it because my hands couldn't really reach, so I sort of customised it.
And all the tuning forks also kind of
they're all
different as well.
They're all different things. It was just off other guitars and things I found in boot sales. Yeah. And I kind of built it up myself and put little parts on it. And this bit here, for the bridge, is actually an acoustic guitar.
Wow.
And then I put a roller bridge on top of that, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and this is really good. I don't know if the camera can see this, but it's actually a little Lego man. A Lego head, a skull Lego head for the volume control. I don't know if you can see that. Up to the camera. And I know when it's on 11, basically, when the bell's on 11, when the skull is looking directly at me when I play.
That's the measure that you use?
Yeah, that's the measurement I use. I remember putting that when I was a little kid and thinking, yeah, that works.
That works.
You know what I mean?
That's fantastic. So obviously this has been a part of your life since you were 4, but what was the music that you were kind of brought up with? Do you get a lot of your influences from your mum and dad, or members of your family, or...?
Well, my dad's a big blues fan, and he definitely got me into the old sort of English kind of blues, like Cream and Fleetwood Mac, from when I was very young. I've always loved those kind of things, those sounds, you know. And later on, I kind of got into T-Rex a lot when I was about sort of, I think I must have been about 11 or something. T-Rex with Matt Walden has always been with me ever since. I just love his sound. I love the way he puts songs together, like the simple kind of bluesy riffs that he does, you know.
So you would say that he's probably up there as one of your most important influences?
He's definitely my biggest influence, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
With the corkscrew kind of hair as well. I used to have longer hair actually.
I did. I used to have much longer hair, but I kind of keep it a bit shorter now because it goes in my eyes when I play, and so I like to keep it a little bit. Yeah,
especially under the hat as well. The top hat is an obvious feature. For people who haven't seen Cam play before, he definitely dons the black and white, and he's got a real style about him, and he does a lot of dancing on stage. We'll come to this a bit later when we talk about your sort of gigging and your busking schedule, if you like. Sure. But the hat is very much like a fixture, I think.
The hat was a lot of things. I mean, I've always, from an arty point of view, when I had my first band in London, my first and only band in London actually, we had this kind of like Clockwork Orange kind of theme. Yeah. And I wore this hat. And later on, when my band kind of split up, I used this hat, and I still use it now for busking because there's nothing better to collect the change. Yeah. So I use it for gigs, just for showmanship, and also when I go busking. So it's just another one of my tools, I suppose.
It's functional and stylish.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I think anyway. Yeah.
But you mentioned when you came to London, you're originally you from Jersey, is that right?
No, I'm not originally from Jersey. I moved to Jersey, I think when I was 13 with my parents, and I stayed there until I was 19. Then I left to come back here to the UK. But originally I'm from like Cranley sort of area, south of England. Okay. Yeah.
But you were, I mean, the first time I ever saw you play would have been at the Finsbury. I don't know when that was. It must be, I think, 2 years ago.
2 or 3 years ago, yeah. It must be,
and that was with Cameron Cole and the RS, which is rhythm section, which was Cam's first band, and certainly, the way I was introduced to your music. Tell me a little bit about how the RS formed, and
Well, when I first came to London, I went to an open mic night, which is non-existent anymore, unfortunately. But it's an open mic night in Camden, which is where I used to live, and it was Lock 17 open mic night on a Monday night, and I'll never forget it. It was one of the best vibes I've ever been to, and the guy who used to play house bass there was Smiley, and he became my bassist. From the moment we met, we sort of connected very well as musicians. And we went for a lot of drummers, and we had one drummer for a while, which I think you met, which was Michael. Yeah. His nickname was Rizzle. It went with the RS kind of thing. And I mean, we did quite well. We sort of, I think we did like an EP. Yeah. And we toured around a lot in London, just in the clubs, and it got me it got me a lot of experience, and so on and so forth. But the band life doesn't really work with me. I prefer being solo, really.
Because I have a bit of a bootleg.
Oh, you've got one of our old CDs.
I've got one of your old CDs. Have you seen one? It's been a while since you might have seen one.
Yeah, it's a long time.
I had the great pleasure of putting on Cameron Cole and the RS for a show at 229 Club, which was really great. That was a long time ago as well.
That was in my old band show, actually. We got that filmed, didn't we?
I think so. Was it Lloyd who did that?
Yeah.
He said he was doing that, yeah. But 229 is a great venue on Great Portland Street. It's unfortunately next to a student halls, which means that it doesn't always have the best music, and it has to cater to that kind of student kind of nights thing. But that was a great gig for us, and we really enjoyed having you on as part of Camden Unsigned, which it's kind of a thing of the past now, unfortunately. The guy who ran Camden Unsigned is now living in Essex, and Essex Unsigned just doesn't have the same ring to it.
I bet it doesn't.
You don't want to go down that whole, the only way is Essex kind of route. But, I mean, the RS obviously came to like a natural close, and so you decided to...
Well, we went for a lot of drummers, and we were coming to the point where me and Smiley had just kind of... we'd really taken it as far as we could have taken it, to be honest, because trying to get a reliable drummer is a very hard thing. So now obviously when I play, I use I tend to use different drummers. I've got one kind of reliable drummer at the moment who I had in the Finsbury, and he'll be at my next gig as well.
Who's that?
Harry Cooper. Yeah, he's a really great technical musician, very good. But yeah, I mean, we in my old band, we kind of split up because of the fact we couldn't really find a drummer, and I kind of, I wanted to move forward, and Smiley was doing a lot of open mic nights, and jam nights and things like that. And I wanted to focus on a.
He's very much like a jam musician.
He's a phenomenal jam musician.
He's fantastic. Absolutely. I've had people sort of go along to his open mic nights and just come in as singers, and him just
Smiley,
chip in as bass.
Smiley really did rear me as a musician. Like he really did. He really did bring me up from a musician point of view. Because before then I'd lived in Jersey, and there's not a lot of. Well, of course, there's musicians in Jersey, but there's just a different standard of musicianship in London, of course. Yeah. And he really taught me how to use my ears. Like as you just said, he could literally someone could go on and play their own song or a cover song that he didn't even know. Yeah. And just by listening to it, he'd play along with it in tune, in time, all the rest of it. And he kind of passed a lot of that knowledge on to me.
Like an intuitive sort of playing,
100%. And I think everyone has the ability to do that. It's just practice, really. Yeah. But it's definitely the way to play, especially if you want session work or from any musician's kind of perspective. If you decide to jam the next part of the song because it's sounding good, then you go with that. If you don't have that skill, you won't be able to do that, and therefore you can't rock the room completely.
You got to know the rules to break the rules.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
But obviously Cameron Cole and the RS sort of wound down, and now it's Cam Cole. So you're obviously you're hemorrhaging letters. I actually have a Cameron Cole and the RS badge that I still have on my jacket. So obviously you can tell I'm a bit of a fan. But let's talk a bit more about the evolution, I guess, between you in a three-piece and being a frontman, and now you're effectively a one-man band. I've got a copy of your album here, Contribute, which you'll see elsewhere here. I have a lovely signed copy. I'm smug. But I was really keen to ask you about this. I know from reading the blurb and from talking to you about this before that you effectively play every single instrument on this album.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about how it was produced, how you recorded it. You recorded it here, right?
Yeah, I did.
And everything on the CD is you.
Everything is me. The harmonies, the drums, the bass, the piano, all the guitars, of course. I think that's pretty much every instrument that was on there. Yeah.
It's really quite amazing to sort of have that as something like your calling card, if you like. I always find it really weird when you see David Bowie does his own backing vocals. It's really weird hearing himself back himself up. Yeah. But it does feel like you have a band behind you doing this. It's But obviously.
Well, I remember when we used to record with my band. I used to quite like getting a lot of people involved, a lot of producers and things like that. But although sometimes all these people would add to the sound, I suppose, but it was never really what I wanted completely, and it was always missing what I really wanted as much, because it was my songs at the end of the day, and I hear them in my head before we record them. I know what I want them to sound like, and so for me doing this album, it was incredibly liberating because I was completely accomplishing what I heard before, as opposed to when I recorded it, and then I could hear exactly how it was in my head.
And of course you had total control over everything.
Completely, yeah.
And because all the stuff you were doing with Cameron Cole and the RS was your material as well, bar These Boots cover which you did.
Yeah.
And
it was my material, but obviously Smiley put his vibe into it. Yeah. And the different drummers we had throughout the years, they put their vibes into it. We had a wicked Latin American drummer. Towards the end of my band sort of life, that he put some really good vibes into that, which I can't really get back, I suppose, because I'm not really a Latin American drummer. I can kind of do a little bit of Latin, but maybe for me, I'm much more of a rock drummer, So my album is very much rock drumming. There's only there's one track on there, Some Blues, that I had a friend play the drums in, because he's got much more of a soul kind of vibe. He's also a rock drummer, but that's James Adams, and he did that really, really nicely,
Everything else
is me, and you can hear the difference in the drums between that track and everything else.
So every idea of a one-man band, like that Dick Van Dyke character in Mary Poppins doing his own drums and with his own harmonica, this is kind of a modern interpretation of that.
Obviously I wouldn't do that live, I'd have to have musicians live, but recording, I think I'm going to stick to that method from now on, because I can work to my own schedule, I can get it done, I don't have to rely on anyone else.
Sure. But even with the two-piece in the Finsbury, you made a hell of a lot of noise. I know like the acoustics and the sound engineering in that place is really good. We filmed there before, it's excellent. But like, do you have other venues in London that you really like playing in, whether when you were in a band or now sort of as a solo artist?
I mean, most venues are pretty much. My kit is. I tend to rely on my kit massively. The only thing I rely on for the sound man is literally just for him to put my sound through the PA. And to mic up my vocals, obviously, and give them a bit of reverb. That's all I really ask, and that's a very standard, very, very simple thing. And all my bass comes from my pedals now. I prefer to play with a two-piece because it's just simple, and I really like the vibe of a two-piece, and it gives me more space on stage to do what I need to do.
Okay.
So I'll show you my pedals actually.
Yeah, let's do that.
I use Zvex pedals and only Zvex pedals actually, and they're really the best pedals around.
Now let's talk about this customized pedal box, because I know it's basically a revamped vintage suitcase, and so it's obviously like a suitcase you've hollowed out and you've put your pedals in. This is something that you're actually marketing now, isn't it?
Well, I actually teamed up with a designer, Angie Zanini, who does a lot of furniture and furnishings and things like that.
Oh, cool.
And we came up with this kind of, because I had the idea originally because I hate pedal boards. I just hate them because when you try and click on one pedal, or you're trying to get to the back pedal, you end up clicking on the pedal in front of it.
And by accident.
By accident, yeah. So I had this idea of these raised kind of platforms you can see in here.
Oh, fantastic.
Which are pieces of wood with just Velcro on, and you literally just put it at the back there, and then you can move these around obviously, and kind of customise your own pedal board.
So it's like a wooden backboard with various sort of Velcro patches that you can.
And also it looks awesome.
It does look great as well.
It's so techie. The standard pedal boards, they're so techie looking.
Yeah.
And I just love I love vintage things, and I love vintage guitars and like vintage amplifiers.
Really, you can tell.
but yeah, I just love the way it looks, and I've always wanted to do something like that,
Yeah, and it must cushion it as well, just sort of having the structure in place. Then you can just open it and just ready to go.
100%, and you've got enough space for wires and all the other stuff that you need. And also, I prefer planks, and the reason for this is because there's nothing worse than having, let's say, this attached to here, and you've got that big gaping wire, and you get your foot trapped through that during a gig. So when you have the good thing about this is that you can push that down into there, so it's right.
And just keep it tucked away.
Exactly.
Have you had like instances where you just
So many. I've almost flipped my whole pedal board.
Especially when you're moving around as much as you tend to do.
Yeah. It's a nightmare for me. I mean, a lot of players don't move around as much as I do. But even then, it just, I think that there's always room for cock-ups on stage. There's always that. No matter how little you're moving, there's a chance. And there's nothing worse than being embarrassed on stage, basically. And, it's best to minimise that as much as possible, I think, with your kit. But I think professionalism is just making it easier for yourself.
Of course, yeah. Well, I think we should wind down for the first part of the interview. And we'll have a little break, and then we'll get on with the next part. So,
sure. Okay.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.